welcome back to Echo. And last we saw, Chase, Leo, and Kudzu ended up stumbling upon TJ in the motel room cowering while they were looking for Leo's van, and Duke ended up stealing Chase's car. And eventually they made their way to Carl's mansion, where they found him surprisingly upstairs in his room. Actually, no, his parents' room. Then they took his parents' Prius and they tried to get out of Echo, but something stopped them along the way, and they ended up, crashing into the lake where they almost all drowned. But thankfully, they're all right. Now they're making their way towards Leo's house. Anyways, so let's begin. The walk to Leo's house is short, only about 15 minutes, but it feels like it takes much, much longer than that. Every tiny sound makes me jump, and I'm steeling myself for the moment when I see the creature again. Nothing happens though. No screaming and no gunshots. Aside from the crickets, this town is dead quiet. Still, we keep to the shadows, cutting through some backyards and sagebrush, probably picking up dozens of spiders and ticks along the way. It's funny, despite everything that's going on, spiders are the biggest thing that are on my mind as I push through the branches and foliage. Finally, the wolf's small house appears out of the dusty, dark night. Leo walks ahead of us with TJ. TJ asked to walk on his own halfway there, and now he's clinging to Leo's hand like a kid afraid of getting lost at the mall. I don't blame him. As we're walking up the house, though, Leo stops. Kudzu, Carl, and I crowd behind him. What is it? Leo puts a finger to his lips, then points at the window on the side of the house. It's broken. Shit. Leo lets go of TJ's hand, then makes a stay here motion while the others as he starts creeping towards the house. With some difficulty and a few awkward sounds, Leo pulls his gun out of his wet pants. I scream internally at the thought of Leo going in alone, but he's the only one with the weapon now. Apparently, Kudzu had lost his during the whole lake incident, which Leo is pretty pissed about. Leo tries the door, then disappears inside, reaching out to make sure that the screen door doesn't bang shut behind him. And then he was gone. We stand there in the silence for a moment, then Kudzu whispers, "Hey, let's stand back just in case." "Yeah, okay." Kudzu turns towards the road while I face towards Leo's house. Carl and TJ stand on either side of us. TJ hasn't said a word since Leo put him down. Ever since what happened at the lake, something in him snapped. "Maybe we should have just gone to my place." Carl gazes up sadly towards the mountains, his mansion somewhere hidden in the darkness. "I don't know. If someone broke into Leo's place to steal stuff, they definitely want to do the same to yours." Knowing this town, Kudzu is probably right. Most of the people here resented Carl's family and the way their mansion looked over the whole town. Like they're taunting us, people would say. I keep my eyes on the house, trying to see through the black windows. Leo hasn't turned on any of the lights on. So, of course, I can't really see anything. Listening doesn't bring any clues either. So, what do you guys think that was? I don't know. I still think it was some kind of animal. It practically bent the car in half. I say it to the side of my mouth, away from TJ. Maybe we should go inside. Probably safer in there, even if there is a burglar or whatever. Didn't the mayor say something about it, like that it only kills us if we're trying to leave? I glance back at Kudzu. Is that what she was talking about? Kudzu shakes his head and shrugs his shoulders. I really don't know, Chase. So we go back to waiting. I'm about to mention that maybe we should move closer to the house, just in case, when we hear a scream. It comes from inside Leo's house, and it definitely doesn't sound like Leo. Carl squeaks next to me. Shit. I'm already running up the stairs though, and I hear the others following closely behind. I push through the door, almost running headlong into the bench where you're supposed to take off your shoes. Leo! I shout just as I realize that it's probably a bad idea. A moment passes where the only sound I can hear is the heavy breathing of my friends behind me. Then, down here, turn on the lights. His voice comes from the hallway, and it's calm. I move a paw along the wall before finding the light switch, revealing the kitchen. We move down the hallway towards Leo's room where I can see the light is on. Inside, I find Leo standing over his own bed. In the bed, I see someone else. A little polecat, disheveled in a tank top, looking even more skeletal than usual. It's Clint curled up in a little ball, cowering. Leo has his gun pointed at him. "Wait, please don't shoot me. I just needed a place to stay." Leo inches the gun lower. "Then why aren't you at your own place?" Kudzu and Carl stand next to me while TJ stays in the doorway, gazing in at us from the dim hallway. Leo raises his gun again, and I actually think he's about to shoot Clint. Clint raises his paws, whining. "Leo, wait. He helped me find Chase." "What?" Leo glances at Kudzu, then back at Clint. He came up to my door last night, told me he saw Chase in the trailer." I'm confused too, but I guess I never asked Kudzu how exactly he was able to find me. My mind immediately flashes back to when I saw Clint peering in at me in the trailer, asking Brian for drugs. I might not have found Chase if he hadn't told me. Clint nods enthusiastically to that, but Leo doesn't lower his gun. "Wait, Leo. Clint hasn't done anything to hurt us since this started. Everyone's gone fucking crazy. Might as well get rid of him before he gets a chance at it, too." "What? What are you doing, Leo?" Leo's got a heartened look on his face that I don't recognize at all. Wait. I know how to get out of here. I think." Leo stance falters, but only just. "What do you mean?" That's why I'm here. Just get the gun off me for a second and I'll explain." Clint is twitchy and keeps scratching at his chest and arms. It comes off like he was able to find those drugs after all. "Come on, Leo. It's all against him. He can't do anything to us." Leo keeps the gun up for a few seconds, then finally lowers it with a dismissive grunt. "Alright, fine. How are we supposed to get out of here?" Clint slowly pushes himself up against the frame of Leo's bed, clearing his throat. "Well, I think it might have something to do with the train yard." There's a moment of silence as we all wait for Clint to go on. He just stares back at us though. Well, stares at the gun in Leo's paw. "Clint? Huh?" Clint doesn't look at Kudzu, as his eyes remain fixated on the pistol. "Leo, just put the gun down for a second, okay? On the dresser behind you or something." Leo shakes his head. "I'm not risking our lives again, Kud." Leo fixes Clint with a glare. "The most I'm gonna do is keep the gun off of you, Clint." Clint flinches when Leo says his name. I look over and see Carl twisting his paws around his pockets of his hoodies, his eyes wide. TJ, on the other hand, is still standing in the hall, his eyes glinting softly in the dim light. For some reason, I get the feeling that he's looking at me. "Tell us now." Leo's tone turns dark, and I look over, half expecting him to have the gun up again. It's still pointed at the carpet, but I can practically see Leo's finger twitching against the trigger guard. He looks almost excited. The Leo I know would never be so eager to kill someone, even if that happens to be Clint. I hope that when this is over, if we get out of this somehow, Leo is able to get back to his old self. Clint's shaking so badly he can barely speak. Finally, Kudzu steps in between them. "Alright, Leo, if you want to keep the gun, that's fine. But can you at least step into the hallway? Maybe he'll be able to calm down enough." "No." Kudzu stops short, but I see him set his jaw, drawing up his shoulders. "Someone actually might have some information to get us out of here, and all you want to do is scare him shitless?" I can see Leo puffing himself up too, and I don't like the look in his eyes. So I step forward on Kudzu's right, practically blocking Clint from Leo's line of sight. When I do, Leo's eyes snap to mine, the simmering snarl disappearing from his muzzle. "Leo, come on." "Otter, move out of the way." His tone is gentle, like I'm some kind of kid. "No, Leo, you're acting weird right now. Just calm down for a second, okay?" Leo frowns at me. "Hey, I'm just trying to keep us all safe." I see the wolf leaning his head to the side a little, like he's trying to keep an eye on Clint. "Leo, let's go out to the hall. Kudzu?" I give the raccoon a sidelong glance. "Can you handle him for a few minutes, okay?" Kudzu nods. I take a few cautious steps towards Leo. He's looking between me and Kudzu now, and there's a different look on his face, one that I'm having trouble placing. I reach out and gently touch his arm. The muscles are hard, his biceps standing out thickly under the fur. Still, I gently try to push him towards the door. As I do, I feel him go a little slack, and, with a whole lot of relief on my part, he finally starts moving towards the hallway. Carl, still gaping at the whole scene, suddenly seems to snap out of it and hurriedly moves out of the way, into the hall. Leo reluctantly continues to shuffle down the hallway as I put an arm around his side, hugging him to me. He responds with the same gesture. We pass a solemn-looking TJ, his eyes following me as we move towards the kitchen. "You okay, TJ?" He doesn't say anything, instead just slowly following us into the kitchen. His fur is all spiky and mussed up from the plunge into the lake, and his clothes look uncomfortably damp. That gives me an idea. Why don't we all get our clothes into the dryer? Then maybe we can have something to eat. There's a moment of silence. Neither TJ nor Leo give me a response. Carl gives me a muffled cough, though. "Hey, actually, I could go for some food." Of course you could. About 20 minutes later, Carl and TJ and I are sitting in the laundry room putting our clothes through a dryer. I can hear Leo in the kitchen frying something up on the stove. While I should be worried about not keeping an eye on him, he's calmed down considerably since we were in the bedroom. Also, the laundry room is between the kitchen and the bedroom, so it would be pretty hard for him to get past without me seeing. So I keep watch, leaning against the wall, staring out into the dark hallway. Carl sits on the dryer, vibrating along with it, while TJ sits on the floor, cross-legged, looking at nothing. "This feels so good on my ass, dude." What, the vibration? No, the heat. I was freezing and I didn't even realize it." Carl knocks the hooves against the side of the metal dryer. "Hey, Teej, you wanna join me up here?" "No, thank you." "You could just lean up against the side. You gotta be cold too." I don't know why I'm doing that. This time TJ doesn't say anything and I finally look away from the hallway. "TJ, are you okay? Do you want to talk?" TJ looks up at me again with those emotionless eyes. "No." He says it so quietly it's almost like he didn't say anything at all. I hold his gaze for a while before looking away. "Aw, don't worry about it, Tej. We're gonna be out of here in no time." That sounds so weird, I'm assuming. Carl slides off the dryer, his damp underwear squeaking loudly against the metal as he clops to the ground. He gives a few strategic tugs at his underwear to probably loosen the wedgie he just created. Then he sits down on the ground in front of TJ, cross-legged as well. TJ barely looks up at him, and I notice the links trembling slightly. "Listen, back at my house, I was stuck in this weird trap version of my house. There was no exit." TJ finally glances up at the ram. "And, well, I thought I was going to be stuck forever, and I was panicking. It was like a nightmare that wouldn't end. But then, right when I was giving up, you guys woke me up. I mean, sure, I sort of woke up into another nightmare, but at least it's with you guys, right?" I hear shifting, then the bedroom door swings open fully and Kudzu appears, slipping out and closing the door quietly behind him. The raccoon spots me and moves over to stand next to me, his ears perked. Hey. I see Kudzu's nose twitch at the air, looking towards the kitchen. "Leo?" "He's cooking." "Ah. So, how'd it go? You were in there for a while." Kudzu sighs and leans against the wall of the hallway, looking back at the closed door. "I don't know, really. Said something about a train going through here the past few days, after everything started." "Through the rail yard?" "That's what he said." That didn't make much sense. The train yard has been abandoned for the past at least 50 years. Are you sure he isn't just like the rest of us, seeing things?" Kudzu shrugs. "I really don't know. Hard to tell with a guy like him." "Yeah. Well, I remember some guys inspecting the rails a few weeks ago. Maybe they opened one up again." That idea also seems strange to me, but I don't know much about the trains. So what if there is a train going through there? Are we just gonna jump on it? That was his plan anyway. Heh, sounds fun. My mind jumps to Robert Smith and what exactly happened to him when he tried to hop a train. Even if we were able to get on the train, could that creature still get us? It was able to knock the car into the lake, so I don't know how capable it is. So, when does the train come? He's not sure, said it seemed random. I sigh loudly. Then we all jump as the dryer finishes with a loud, grating buzz. I shakily rub my face, then move to open the dryer. Well, let's at least get our clothes back on. Then we can get into the kitchen and tell Leo what's going on. We all sit on the table eating quietly as Kudzu tells Leo everything. The food looks like it's some kind of vegetable stir-fry. The first bits remind me that I'm starving, and it's hard not to just try and shove all of it into my mouth at once. Carl, sitting across from me, does just that. That sounds like a little bullshit. Kudzu shrugs. I don't know what else to go on. Why would he lie anyway? To buy himself some time. Kudzu closes his eyes for a second, breathing in deeply. Leo, listen. There's no way he's going to try anything. He's scared out of his mind right now. Duke was scared. Didn't stop him from trying to kill us. It's probably worse that he's scared. Leo looks up at the hallway towards the bedroom, and I'm starting not to like the look on his eyes again. In fact, I'm wondering why the fuck we left him in the room alone in the first place. Leo starts to show teeth. I reach out and rest upon the wolf's arms, again feeling the tension of the muscles underneath the fur. Hey, don't worry about it, but he jerks his arm away and suddenly turns on me. Why the hell are you on his side with this shit? You were with that fucking bear. You know what these crazies are doing. I wince internally at being reminded of the incident, but I try again, reaching out. Yeah, but Clint isn't Brian. You know he was pushed around by that bear too. Leo pulls his arm further away from me. He's looking back and forth between me and Kudzu again. What is this? You're both acting like I'm the crazy one. The wolf pushes his chair back from the table. I heard you whispering shit in the hallway. You've been saying things behind my back. Leo narrows his eyes at Kudzu. Whoa, dude, chill. Why don't you keep eating, Carl? Jesus, don't be mean to Carl, little shit. Leo shifts his gaze towards the bedroom again before abruptly standing up. I'm gonna check on him. Leo. I start to stand up as well, but Kudzu is one step ahead of me. He moves to intercept the wolf, both hands out. Come on, Leo. But he doesn't get to finish. Instead, the wolf goes straight into him, grabbing one of his arms and punching at his face. Kudzu sees it coming and is able to duck, but he's not quite fast enough. Leo's knuckle glances off the raccoon's muzzle, knocking his head around. Leo keeps a hold of his arm and swings Kudzu around away from the hallway and back into the kitchen. Kudzu takes the fall rather well, going into a sort of a roll. He does end up banging against Carl's chair, but he comes up on one knee, panting and staring up at Leo. His nose is bleeding. What the fuck? I'm standing before I know it and moving around the table to stand at Kudzu's side. I look him over, trying to see if Leo had done him any serious damage before I look back at the wolf. What are you doing? Carl clumsily tries to help the raccoon up, his ears flat against his head. Leo breathes heavily, staring down at Kudzu before his eyes flick to me. Get away from him! What? Get away from him! This time, there's a growl quality to his voice, and I see his fingers drift towards his belt. I do move away from Kudzu, but only just. I don't want either of us getting shot. Leo turns his attention to Kudzu. You! Out! Kudzu stares up at the wolf for only a moment before briskly getting to his feet. His breathing is so erratic, I'm wondering if he's going to have a panic attack. He gives me a single glance before hurrying out the kitchen. I want to stop him, get in his way like he did Leo's, but the look on Leo's face right now has me frozen, and I can't do or say anything as I watch the raccoon tails disappear. I hear the door swing open, then bang shut. I look back and almost jump as I see Leo's eyes are still on me, studying me. He stares a while longer before turning away and stomping loudly down the hall. Carl is frozen next to me, and TJ just sits there, his eyes down on his plate, food untouched. Still numb, I have to force myself to walk forward and follow Leo, terrified of what's about to happen. Leo, wait! My voice is too quiet and too soft for the wolf to even hear me. The door ahead of me swings open. There's a moment of silence, then Leo curses loudly and I run to the doorframe, looking inside, not sure what I'm about to find. What I find is nothing. No one's inside. The covers of the bed are thrown back, the windows wide open. See? See! I told you! Leo's voice goes from an almost scream to a hushed whisper as he moves to the window, looking out into the night. He slides the window shut, then locks it. This is exactly what I was worried about. What? Inside it, I'm relieved more than anything. For some reason, I'm positive that if Clint was still in here, or if Leo had caught him in the act of trying to escape, I don't doubt he would have tried to shoot him. That stupid fucking raccoon, thinking he knew what was best. Leo continues to peer out the window, his ears perked up. I know what the hell's best for us. Think he can just come in and tell everyone what to do? See what happens? I start to move back into the hallway towards the kitchen, but Leo suddenly whirls around on me. His frown turns into a sort of uncertain smile. Hey, Otter, are you okay? I don't say anything, just stare at him. Otter? Vaguely, I can hear Carl clopping around uncertainly in the hallway, probably too afraid to get close. I try to speak, then wet my lips. Yeah? Leo extends a paw. Come here. Did I scare you? I fidget with my paws. No. Well, come on then. Slowly, I move into the wolf's room. Despite my dragging feet, my mind is racing, trying to decide what the hell is going on and what the hell I'm going to do. Leo's lost it. There's no question about it. It's something that I've sort of known for the past day, ever since we found him in Duke's basement. And now, it's getting worse. A lot worse. Still, I continue to move towards him like I'm in some kind of a dream. Soon, he's got me wrapped up in his arms and, despite the warmth, despite the strength I feel in them, I don't feel good about it at all. I'm just scared. Chula. I'm gonna say that again, but I'm gonna try to be as creepy as possible. Chula. He breathes into my ear, sending shivers down my spine. Well, let's try that again, but I'm gonna try to be on the side of the mic. Chula. He breathes into my ear, sending shivers down my spine. I told you I'm going to protect you. I'm going to keep you safe. That's exactly what I'm going to do. He starts rocking me back and forth, shifting us around on his feet like we're doing some kind of half dance at a prom. He's moved us around so that I'm looking at the door and I can see Carl's horns, his eyes fearfully peering into the room. That raccoon, he wasn't good for you. Good for me? He helped me. Leo gives me a squeeze that almost knocks the breath out of my lungs and cuts me off. Maybe, maybe not. I can see him acting strange, kind of like the others. The wolf continues to rock us back and forth as I continue to look over Leo's shoulders, seeing Carl's eyes that this is definitely fucked up. Seeing in Carl's eyes. I don't say anything else to Leo, worried about how he might take it if I keep trying to convince him that Kudzu was only trying to help us. I'm going to get you all out of here, like I said I should have done from the beginning, okay? He gives me a little shake when I'm silent a little too long. Okay. Okay. And he keeps rocking me like that for what seems like hours. And when we make another revolution, I can see that Carl's not there anymore. Then I hear something. Soft at first, then louder and louder. Leo stops dancing with me. I can make out a rhythmic, dull, metallic sound accompanied by a horn. A train? TJ and Carl are standing at the back door, staring out into the night. Leo pushes past them, ears perked as he tries to see through the darkness. The train sounds incredibly close, almost like it's only a feet away. Should we go to it like Clint said? Leo pauses, his nose twitching before he waves a paw at us. You guys stay here. I'm gonna have a look. Leo. And just like that, the wolf disappears into the night, leaving us behind. I stare out into the night. So, guess Clint wasn't shitting us after all, huh? Yeah. All I can think about right now, though, is Kudzu. Did he hear the train right now? Was he on his way over there? I look to my right towards Kudzu's house, only a few hundred feet away. Quietly, I start stepping outside. Chase? Carl's voice behind me is timid, scared. I look back at him only to make out the whites of his eyes in the darkness. TJ lurks behind him, staring at me as well, though far more stoically. I'll be right back. I just need to check on Kudzu. Everything that Kudzu had done for me up to this point, saving me multiple times, making sure I was doing okay, nursing me back to health. Hell, even helping me with my project before all of this shit went down. I'm not going to abandon him. Just like with Leo, when he was imprisoned by Duke, I feel like it's my responsibility, only this time the urge is even stronger. I have to make sure Kudzu makes it out of here like the rest of us. Carl, though, doesn't look so enthusiastic about that. I don't know if it's such a good idea. You saw Leo. Carl looks over his shoulder, and I do the same, worried that maybe the wolf was coming back. But all I see is darkness. I realize then that Carl is just as terrified of the wolf as I am now. I swear I'm only going to be away for a few minutes. If Leo asks, tell him just tell him I needed some air. That won't. I don't wait for Carl to finish his sentence. My eyes slowly adjust, but it's too dark to really see any more than 5 feet. The amount of stars overhead is almost dazzling, but it's not enough light to help me see. In fact, it's almost disorientating, the way the bright powder look of the sky clashes with the black horizon of the mountains. Focusing on it too much makes my stomach turn, and I turn my eyes down, trying to focus on the barely visible ground instead. Whack! Until my face slams right into something big, hard, and full of twigs. Jesus fucking damn it! I shout whisper into my paws, covering my nose, afraid for a second that maybe I ran one of my eyes through. A quick but shaky examination with my fingers puts that fear at ease, though. Now I feel my muzzle has gone flat into my face. The jolt had me feeling all the aches of my past 2 incidents with cars. I stand there in the dark for a moment, gathering my senses. It's almost completely silent now. The train, if it was a train, has passed us by at this point. The metallic clanks and rushing sound is far behind me. Standing in the silence, though, is starting to give me second thoughts. I'm pretty sure there aren't any trees between Leo and Kudzu's house. Did I just get off track somehow? Something cracks a little ways ahead of me, and I freeze up, my ears twitching. I listen hard enough to hear anything above the crickets. Okay, yeah, this is really fucking stupid. I remember that I'm not all that far away from Leo's house and look back at the yellow squares of windows in the distance. I should probably go back to reorientate myself and try to get to Kudzu's house again. As I'm turning around, though, another crack behind me, followed by a muffled voice. Shit. I freeze at the voice. I open my mouth to try and quietly call out, but stop myself. I can't be sure, but it sounded like Kudzu, albeit muffled and low-pitched. I decide to wait a while longer with one foot pointed towards Leo's house. And then, this time the sound is right next to me and I jump in the air. I make a run for the house and immediately trip over several rocks, going face first into the ground. I'm scrambling at the ground with my paws and feet while I hear the voice again. Whoa, Chase! I slump back to the ground in relief. Oh my god, Kudzu, what the hell are you doing? I feel the raccoon's paws feel over me, then pull me back up to my feet. I heard a train, then I saw someone. Are you okay? From the faint light in the stars, I can make out Kudzu's ears and the tip of his muzzle. My eyes have adjusted to the point where I can even see the mask in his fur. Yeah, I wanted to come get you in case we were going to try to hop the train. I look over my shoulders, trying to listen for the train again. Little late for that, eh? Well, yeah, but I didn't want to leave you behind. Ah. I rub my face where I hit the branch. Listen, I don't know what's going on with Leo, but maybe we can go back and try to talk. Kudzu shakes his head. Nah, I don't think he's gonna listen. As much as I hate to admit it, Kudzu is probably right. Well, I'm not gonna leave you out here after everything we went through. I see a glint of white teeth as Kudzu gives me a small smile. Wow, well, thanks, man, but really should probably get back before he. At that moment, I realize something. Wait, what are you doing out here? You said you saw someone? Kudzu shifts slightly from one foot to the other. I thought I did. At least. Like someone from the town, or. I think it was your friend. What? That, fox. Jenna? Jenna? My eyes go wide and I turn back to the darkness, squinting. Where? Where did you see her? Kudzu turns to look at me, then takes a few steps forward. Well, I'm gonna go back to my trailer after the whole thing with Leo. Then this fox girl just kinda jumped up from the side of my house. Where did she go? My heart's hammering in my chest right now as I strain to see her. Jenna's been on my mind since the very beginning, and her absence has only become more prominent after finding the others. Well, I think she just went off in that direction. Kudzu points into the darkness. I could hear her running off, but then the footsteps stopped, so I thought that she might have just stopped and hid somewhere. Come on then. I motioned Kudzu forward and stepped towards the blackness of the wilderness. Hold on, I was gonna grab a flashlight. There's no way we're gonna find anyone or anything out here at this time of the night. You go get them then, I'll wait. Of course, I'm terrified of being left alone, but I'm also terrified of Jenna running away if I don't keep watch. I'm getting the feeling that she might be under the same influence that Carl or TJ had been earlier. Maybe? You sure? Yeah, I want to stay here in case she comes out. I wave him away. Okay, but yell if anything happens, alright? Okay. Kudzu goes in and comes out within less than a minute, though it feels way longer than that. While he was gone, I risked a few loud whispers of Jenna's name, but I didn't get any response. Pretty soon, a beam of light is sweeping the dirt, sagebrush, and cacti as we slowly make our way in the direction that Jenna had run. Apparently, it was through the backyard and out towards the desert. I'm worried that maybe she didn't stop running. Why was she running? Did she say anything? I whisper softly to Kudzu as I follow along with him, one hand on his shoulder. No, just looked up at me and took off, looked terrified or something. I frowned, my paw tightening a bit on the raccoon's shoulder. Maybe it's just because she didn't know you, right? Maybe she was heading to Leo's place. Maybe. I try to focus on the sea of pale glow in front of me, the bright cold light of the flashlight sucking the color out of the desert. The grays and whites all sort of blend together after a while, and the swinging motion of the beam starts to lull me into a weird hypnotic state. It is at this moment that I catch movement out of the corner of my eye, on the right, where the light isn't currently pointing. I hear the sound of shifting dirt and gravel, immediately followed by a bizarre, high-pitched snarl that makes me gasp in horror. I actually even piss myself a little as I see the glint of white teeth. Kudzu tries to swing the beam back in the direction of the sound, and at the same time, I try to pull him back with my paw on his shoulder. Whatever it is hits Kudzu hard, knocking him back and sending me stumbling away to land on my ass. The flashlight rolls away with the raccoon's paw and shines in my face, briefly blinding me. I can sense a loud, growling commotion right in front of me, along with the sound of Kudzu grunting. Numbly, I reach out and snatch up the flashlight, then turn it on the sounds. First, I see Jenna, her ears back, teeth bared, swinging her paws at the crumpled heap on the ground. That heap is Kudzu, and he's got his arms up in self-defense, snarling back, his eyes wide. Jenna! Just like that, the snarl drops from her face, and her eyes snap up to mine. Chase? But then the position is suddenly reversed as Kudzu grabs the fox by the wrist and practically barrel rolls. Now Kudzu sits on her back as he keeps a hold on her wrist. Wait, stop! I rush over to them, grabbing Kudzu's upper arm and trying to pull his paw away from Jenna. It's okay, she's good. She recognizes me. Kudzu only hesitates for a moment before scrambling off the fox and backing away, breathing hard. Jenna quickly sits up, absent-mindedly brushing off her shirt as she looks up at me. Oh my god, Chase! She says it in a hushed whisper, putting a paw to her mouth. Jenna, Are you okay? I reach down to help her up, and she immediately goes in to hug me. I stand there awkwardly for a moment as she buries her face into my shoulder, gasping for breath. I'm not sure if she's crying or not. Are you okay? I ask again, patting her head, the back of her, patting her back awkwardly. Sorry, I'm fine. Jenna steps back and wipes her under her eye with the back of her paw. I didn't know where any of you were. Where were you? Jenna looks all right, but for the most part, except for a bunch of dirt in her clothes and in her fur. But then, I don't know if that's from before or after she was wrestling with Kudzu. I don't know. I was out in the desert and it's still dark, obviously, but I can make out from the frown on her face that she seems to struggle for words. Finally, Kudzu steps in. Hey, let's get to my trailer. We can talk it out in there, all right? Jenna silently nods, then seems to really focus on Kudzu. Wait, who are you? I step in for the raccoon. This is Kudzu. He's a friend. He saved me a bunch of times. That seems to be good enough for Jenna. With that out of the way, we all head back towards the trailer. Quietly, Kudzu lets us in the trailer, opening the screen door slowly so that it doesn't creak. He motions us inside, and Jenna follows him behind me, pressing close. I suppose she has a good reason to be wary of the place. She doesn't really know Kudzu, and at this point, it's hard to even trust people that you do know. Kudzu closes the door and slides the lock in place. Jenna stands next to me in the small living room area, arms folded tightly against her body like she's hugging herself. Hey, you want to sit down? I gesture at the recliner, which Jenna stares at for a few seconds. I don't know. The fox's ears are twitching around and pointing straight up. I turn to the small love seat against the wall instead. Maybe there I can sit with you. After a few more moments of staring at the couch, Jenna finally nods. She walks swiftly over to the couch, looking at it for a moment before finally sitting down. I notice three lumped up patches of fur on the back of her neck, and it takes me a moment to realize that it's dried blood. Had someone attacked her? Has she hurt herself? Jenna still doesn't relax when we're settled in, and is instead sat bolt upright, leaning hard against my shoulder. Much like her ears, her eyes are darting around, mostly over the curtained windows to our right. Meanwhile, Kudzu elects to sit in the empty recliner after turning it a little to face us. The scraping sound it makes on the floor causes Jenna to jump. Kudzu pauses, blinking, then settles back into the recliner. Sorry, I really should put a rug under this thing. Jenna doesn't say anything and instead just looks back at the window. Kudzu shifts awkwardly in the chair, then looks at me. I look at Jenna, trying to think of something to say. Jenna beats me to it. Do you know where the others are? TJ or Carl? Oh yeah, they're at Leo's place. Them and Leo. Jenna frowns at me. Then why are we here? Let's go. She starts to stand up, but I reach out a paw, grabbing her arm. She flinches, and yanks away from me, standing up fully. Sorry, just hold on a second. It's complicated. Why? Jenna takes a step back from me, folding her arms. The look in her eyes is worrying, like she's starting to not to trust me. Look, Leo, he's kind of uptight right now. I guess I just wanted to give him some space. Give myself some space, really, away from him. Kudzu shifts in his chair again. He kicked me out. Things got a little heated between us. Jenna looks at Kudzu, the deep frown still on her face. Why? Leo wouldn't do that without a reason. She looks back at me as if wanting some sort of confirmation. I nod. Leo isn't really himself right now. I'm really worried about him. Can we go over there and talk to him? I open my mouth, but I pause, trying to think of the right way to say it. I don't know, not right now. I'm not leaving Kudzu, so I'm gonna have to think of a way to get Leo to calm down. I'm also considering just staying separate from him until we get out of here, but I don't want to tell Jenna that. She looks stressed out enough as it is. Now that I think about it, I wouldn't be surprised if Leo is out there hunting for me right now. Odds are that he's going to come here eventually. Maybe he jumped the train already. That reminds me though. Oh yeah, we think we found a way out. Really? Yeah, apparently a train goes through here once in a while. We're thinking we can hitch a ride on it. Jenna takes that in, then just nods. The silence drags out for a minute or two before I finally lean towards her. It's okay, just sit down and relax for a minute. She does so, even with more hesitance than the first time, sitting on the couch cushion like it might be a landmine. So, where were you these past few days? If you want to tell me, I mean. Jenna stares at the floor, then shrugs. I don't really know. It's kind of a blur. I nod. Yeah, same. I guess it happened 3 days ago. I don't remember, but everything was normal until TJ woke up. It was like he was in a trance or something. I wasn't sure what was wrong with him. I thought he might have been having a seizure. Then I thought he was in a psychosis of some kind. He left the motel and just started running, so I followed him. He ran up all the way to the lake, and I wasn't sure he was going to go in. Oh, and I was sure he was going to go in. But then he just stopped on the shore and stared at it. I cut up to him and tried to talk to him, but it was like I wasn't there. All he would say was your name. Chase. Chase, where's Chase? I think he was looking in the water for you. Jenna looks right at me. I don't know why. Do you? Of course not. I shake my head. I have no idea. Liar. The couch tilts. And so I sort of grabbed his shoulder to lead him back away from the lake. But then he turned on me and he sort of just changed. The water changed that day. My head spins and I brace my paw against the armrest, trying not to fall over. And he attacked me, clawed me up. And for the first time, Jenna sticks out her arm and pulls back some of the fur where I can see bits of crusted blood. You knew what the water felt like. I had to run from him, and he chased me for a while. To everyone else. And as I did, I realized the whole town was different. Everyone was different. Suffocating. I swallow hard, still gripping into the couch, but Jenna doesn't seem to notice, and Kudzu's looking at her. The humming in my head finally starts to die down. You say he's at Leo? At Leo's? Is he okay? Did he explain what happened? I shake my head, but only a little. I feel like I'm going to throw up. No, but he has been acting a little strange, I guess. I need to talk to him, make sure he's actually okay. We will. Though I'm not sure that she'll find him okay at all. So what happened after that? It looked like you were hiding out there. Kudzu gestures a paw at the window. Jenna covers his face with both paws, sighing deeply. That I'm not too sure about. After I ran, it all just sort of became a dream. I only remember bits and pieces. I wait for a moment as Jenna seems to think. I remember I went back to the motel, I think, but then I saw something. Jenna pauses, then lets out a little humorless laugh. A thing I remember from my childhood. A monster, I guess. A monster? Yeah, like this thing. Jenna waves her paw in front of her face. Had like red face and I don't know. I thought I saw it in my closet a few times as a kid. Felt like it was chasing me. What do you think it was? Jenna laughs hollowly again. Oh, I don't think it's anything. I must have had my own little breakdown after seeing everyone else's. Jenna sighs deeply again, sitting back in the couch. But then you guys come along and now I think everything's clear. Jenna leans back for a moment, breathing deeply, and, for the first time, it seems like she's relaxing a little bit. She turns her attention back to Kudzu. Hey, Kudzu, is it? Kudzu nods. Mind if I use your restroom? I just need a moment to collect myself. And pee too. An actual toilet would be nice. Oh, yeah, just right over there. Kudzu points at a thin, little white door between the kitchen and the living area. Thanks. And with that, Jenna disappears into the bathroom. Kudzu and I sit in silence for a moment, listening to the sound of running water from the faucet. Well, I think now we have a reason to go back to Leo's house. I know I know he won't be mad at you if he knows you found Jenna. I don't know about that, but yes, we're going to have to go back with her. I'll talk to him first, in case he's still out of it. Again, thanks. I'm glad you're here with me right now. Kudzu rubs his arms awkwardly. I get panicky when things get physical, which they have a lot lately. I gesture at the cushions next to me, and after a few moments of hesitation, Kudzu gets up from the recliner to sit next to me. I reach around him and squeeze him to my side. It's cool, like I said, you saved my ass so many times at this point. It's the least I can do. I almost tell him that he's been there for me more than anyone at this point, but that feels a little bit too much right now. Kudzu chuckles and leans back, his arms brushing mine. I didn't always used to be like this, you know. What? A fucking coward. I scrunch my muzzle up. What? No way, you've been insanely brave. Kudzu shakes his head. Nah, you saw me at Duke's house when we got caught, then down in the basement. Then when Leo tossed me out. Those were all great reasons to have been scared, Kudzu. You still faced all of it. Kudzu looks unconvinced. I don't know, Chase. After what Leo did, I don't think I was gonna come back. I shrug. Well then, I'm glad I came after you then. Kudzu's quiet for a moment, then he chuckles quietly, leaning his head back to stare at the ceiling. What? I moved to Echo to get away from stuff like this. Kudzu shakes his head. Now, look what's happened. It's fucking ridiculous. Like people going crazy. That and guns and violence. Paint is in a rough city compared to the others in this country, but it has rough patches. And I lived in one of those patches. I think you told me that you moved here because there's less people. Kudzu sighs quietly. It's not the only reason. I lost someone a few years back. I needed a fresh start, I guess. The silence drags out for a moment as I contemplate that. My eyes drift to the picture frame by the love seat, to the one where someone had his arm around Kudzu. In it, I see a hare, smiling just as toothily as the raccoon next to him, a good head taller than his companion. But now look where I am. I snap my eyes back at the raccoon, not wanting to be caught looking. I don't know what to say, so I just settle with, we're gonna get out. Just gotta listen for that train. Kudzu has his eyes closed, so I lean back too. Despite all the shit going on outside, there's something really peaceful about being here next to Kudzu and his neat little trailer. We sit there for a while, listening to the soft rush of running water. After a while, I look towards the bathroom, realizing how uncomfortably full my bladder is right now. Jenna doesn't seem to be coming out anytime soon, though. Listen, I gotta take a piss. Again? Kudzu smirks at me. Well, yeah, it's been a few hours. I pee a lot anyway. Oh yeah, very good to know. Yeah, I'll be right back. Kudzu's joking demeanor suddenly drops. I don't know, I think we should stick together right now. Remember what happened last time? You wanna watch? Kudzu pauses. I'll stand in the doorway, alright? Just go by the side of the trailer. Alright. We head back outside while Kudzu hangs back by the door. Just make it quick again. Yell if something happens. It's fine. I'll only be a few feet away. I hide a small smile at how motherly Kudzu's being right now. After everything that's happened, it's no wonder. I move around the side of the trailer, back into the darkness. Quickly, I unbutton, then zip down my fly. I start to go when I hear some footsteps behind me. I look over my shoulder. Kudzu? What? And then two massive paws wrap around my body. I look down and get a glimpse of thick claws and brown, matted fur. I scream as I'm pulled back into the dark towards the desert. I know who it is immediately. The smell is unmistakable. That and the high-pitched voice cursing as he drags me along through the brush. Chase! Kudzu's scream seems like it's only a few yards away. He's going to catch up to us and then, I don't know what. Try to fight Brian off, I guess. But just as I'm thinking that, Brian picks me off the ground and practically throws me. The next thing I know, my head is throbbing as the back of it knocks against something hard. My legs are all splayed upwards, my foot paws pressed against something smooth and cool. I hear more cursing and the sound of snarls. Kudzu? Then I hear the sound of a car door slam, and I realize I'm in a truck, my feet pressed against the windshield. Brian's massive bulk squeezes in next to me, and I feel the truck accelerate. The backside wobbles back and forth in the sand as it tries to find the purchase in the ground. But then we find the road, and I'm pressed back into the seat as Brian steps hard on the gas. I scramble upright into the seated position, pressing back as far as I can against the door, away from Brian. He doesn't seem to be paying attention to me right now, with his eyes fixed on the road. My heart hammers in my chest. I can't even start to comprehend what just happened to me. Is this real? Am I dreaming? How did I end up fucking things up so badly again? Brian takes a hard turn and I almost tumbled into him. In a panic, I kick my feet against his side, keeping myself upright and against the door. The big bear grunts and glances at me before fixing his eyes back on the road. I quickly draw my feet back, pressing my knees against my chest as I try to hold onto the chair to keep from falling over. As I try to hold on to I quickly draw my feet back, pressing my knees against my chest as I hold on to the seat to keep from falling over. I realize then that Brian must be waiting for me, waiting outside Kudzu's trailer for a perfect moment to grab me. I realized then that Brian must have been waiting for me, waiting outside Kudzu's trailer for a perfect moment to grab me. I'd given it to him by idiotically skipping outside to take a piss, the result of which I can smell wafting from my pants. I don't care though, everything is numb right now and my mind is racing, trying to figure out how I'm going to get out of this. My paws automatically reach back to pull at the door handle, and it's locked. My paws feel along the door, looking for the lock. My fingers pass over a small hole, which where I assume it should be, but it's smooth. It's like the little nub from the pop-up lock is missing, or that it's been cut off. Swallowing hard, I keep searching and my fingers come across the window crank handle. I tentatively start to roll it down, but it's clear that I haven't thought ahead as Brian immediately notices the drafty air. He lunges at me, one hand still on the wheel. I scream and dodge out of the way, falling into the footwell as I try to escape his massive paws. He doesn't grab me, instead reaching for the handle and rolling the window back up. The truck swerves back and forth. As he does for a moment, I'm sure he's about to roll the whole thing with how fast we're going. He finally sits upright again. Do that again and I'll knock you out. I hate doing this voice, and he still doesn't look at me. It's only then that I notice that the stark difference in his demeanor has now compared to the first few times I'd seen him. There's no lust and no animalistic drive to fuck everything around him. Instead, he's just sort of desperate. There's a sort of desperation about him. I see his eyes dart around in the glow of the headlights, the fur all over his face matted down with sweat. I sit there in the footwell staring up at him, gripping onto the seat as my head knocks back against the glove compartment. After a few minutes of erratic driving and swerving, I gather my wits enough to speak. What are you doing? Brian's eyes flick down towards me, then back up to the road. Before he shakes his head. He does it slowly, like he can't believe something. But he doesn't say anything, at least not for a while. Then, after what could have been anywhere from 2 minutes to 20 minutes, he speaks. Can you tell me the truth, boy? I sit there quietly, contemplating making a jump for his door, to open it and tumble out into the desert. If I wasn't injured badly enough, or if I even survived for that matter, maybe I could make a run for it. What truth? What's going on in this town? Oh my god. I squeeze my eyes shut and let my forehead thump against the seat, but only for a moment since I want to be able to keep an eye on Brian. I already told Duke and I have no fucking clue. You were there. Brian grunts as he continues to stare out the windshield, clearly thinking about something. I can't help you or anyone here, Brian. I'm just trying to find a way out. That gives me an idea. Wait, I might know a way to get out of here. If you let me go, I'll tell you. As soon as that comes out of my mouth, I wonder if I've made a mistake. Brian doesn't need to let me go to get me to tell him what he wants. I'm alone here with him, and he can do whatever he wants to me. And I'd probably tell him whatever he wants to hear. But he surprises me with what he says next. Escaping isn't gonna fix any of this. We're all still gonna see the same shit. I wait, but he stays quiet. It takes me another minute to work up the courage to ask. See what? You know what exactly? He screeches at me in a high-pitched voice, and the truck swerves precariously. I can imagine the tires sliding off the road for a moment before Brian corrects it. You know what I'm talking about? He says it more gently, taking deep breaths to calm himself. Then he looks down at me. Don't you? I swallow hard, wanting to find the right answer, but unsure of what that might be. Like what Duke saw on the ceiling in the diner? That's the first thing that comes to mind. It's something that Brian saw with me. He lets out a cold guff. That's exactly what I'm talking about, Otter. That and that every fucking thing else. The truck takes another hard turn and I brace myself a little, well. The swerves and turns are becoming more frequent. I can't really see out my window, but I'm pretty sure we're headed into the mountains. Was that creature thing going to attack us? Should I warn Brian? But we've all been seeing shit for a long time, even before this crazier shit started a few days back. Brian glances back down at me once again. Haven't you seen stuff here? My mind immediately thinks back to when I was a kid. I'd seen plenty of things, plenty of horrible things. But the psychiatrist had said that was normal, that sometimes kids hallucinate. I notice that Brian's not wearing his seatbelt, and I start to toy with the idea of grabbing the wheel. Again, I might be killed. It would at least stop Brian from taking me to wherever he is taking me. It might even be better to die. Maybe, but my parents, my friends, they haven't really seen stuff. Except Jenna, and now TJ and Carl after all this started. Brian grins with his crooked and missing teeth. Seems we only see shit if there's a reason to. I don't know what it is either, but from what I've seen, it's a combination of shitty experiences and being an echo. The truck is slowing down a little now as we start taking sharper turns. Brian's calmed a little, but it also means that we're definitely deep in the mountains at this point, the road having turned to gravel. When I was a kid in Peyton, I didn't see shit, even though I had pretty fucked up childhood. My mom left when I was 6 because my dad was a piece of shit, but you know she's a piece of shit for leaving me with him. Anyway, you know where my dad told me she'd gone? I don't say anything until Brian looks back down at me expectantly. Where? Brian cackles and it sends a chill up my spine. The aliens had taken her! I press myself deeper into the well, wishing I could just disappear into the floor. I think he must have been drunk or high or both, but it stuck with me, you know? I nod, trying to keep the bear happy as he drives along a road so curvy it seems impossible in my mind. Then, when I was a teenager in 87 or so, I got myself a boyfriend. Well, more a fuck buddy. We kinda hated each other. He talked too much, but he was a good fuck and the only gay person I knew, so I came here every other week or so to fuck him. But then something weird happened on my second or third trip out here. I remember the moon was red that night because the forest fires out west. And I kept looking at it, and that's when I saw a flying saucer, like one straight out of a cartoon and lights in the dome on top. I couldn't believe it, but there is fucking was floating through the sky, and you know, even though it looks stupid as fuck, I knew. Brian takes a big wide turn and the truck slows more and more until it comes to a rumbling halt. My ears ringing in the silence as Brian continues to stare out into the night, the headlights lighting up his face. I knew I saw it, and it was a fucking evil. I just knew it. Brian finally looks down at me again. That night, and almost every night after, I wake up and I couldn't move, and aliens would be around my bed. And there was this one alien that I knew was my mom. She didn't look like my mom, she just looked like an alien. But I knew it was her, and she'd do these things to me, sometimes to my mouth, and eyes, and nose. But usually to my dick, torture me, and it felt fucking real. Brian chuckles, staring at me. Fucked me up good, and I blame my boyfriend for it, for bringing me to Echo, because I was sure that's where the evil came from. I outed him that year, and he had to leave town because of it. The massive bear shakes his head. Didn't stop the dreams, though. Brian puts his truck in park, then shuts off the engine. We sit there in the darkness and silence, and even though I just emptied my bladder, I feel like I'm gonna piss myself again. Never told anyone that before. I don't say anything as I just breathe through my mouth, trying to make as little sound as possible. There's something fucked up in this town that makes us see things, feel things from our past, or some shit. Duke told me about it, how it'd been happening a fucking long time, but he thinks there's a way to fix it. Brian suddenly opens the door and jumps out. He slams the door hard enough to make my ears pop. For about 5 seconds, I will myself to move, to run, to open his door and sprint into the night. But my body refuses to move, and before I know it, the bear is yanking open my door and grabbing me by the wrist. And if you help me out with it, we can be done with it for good. He pulls me out roughly. My legs are like rubber when he sets me on the ground, but he holds me up easily with his paws on my arms. Can you promise to help? Then I'll let you go, and we'll be free of the evil, okay? All I can do is nod dumbly. Alright, it's gonna be okay, Otter. I promise. Brian transfers his iron-like grip to my wrist and starts to pull me along. I stumble after him weakly, trying not to trip in the darkness. Brian stops next to the truck bed and starts to rummage around inside. I feel like I'm gonna pee again. What do you need me to do, though? Brian finally pulls something out and it looks shiny and heavy. I open my mouth to scream, but that's when a burst of light comes out from one of the ends of it. It's a mag light. I stare at it, gaping stupidly. Brian sweeps the beam of light around. All around us is gravel, sagebrush, and some cacti. I have no idea where we are. I need to get something, and it's in a place that's too small for me to squeeze into. I need your help to get it, okay? Okay, what is it? Brian ignores me, looking around. He seems to settle on a direction, and it sets off, pulling me along with him. Anyway, it makes me think. All these ghosts and UFOs and monsters people see in the woods, I think they're all connected somehow. Yeah? I focus on trying to keep the bear happy, pretending to be interested in his ramblings. Meanwhile, we're not even on a trail, just pushing through thick brush and sharp rocks. Yeah, like little bits of echo are everywhere in the world. Some small like a house, some huge like a town. That makes sense. No, it doesn't. None of this makes sense. But I have to focus on getting away from the bear. I know I should have made a run for it back in the car, but there's no helping that now. I walk for maybe about 100 yards. As we do, the land starts to incline and become steep. Brian even slips up a few times, and I'm worried that he's going to fall on top of me. Each time he manages to catch himself, then yank me up after him. After a few minutes of huffing and puffing, we reach a bit of an outcrop with some large boulders. Brian lets go of me and clambers up the side of one, and before I even think of running, he's turned around and grabbed me up by the scruff. I squeak as I'm lifted into the air, feeling like a pup again before I'm set down beside the bear. Brian looks around, keeping a hold on my wrist as he does. After some stomping and looking around with his flashlight, he seems to find what he's looking for. He brings me up to the edge of the boulder, then he lifts me up again, this time by the wrist. I kick around for a moment before he lowers me slowly into the dark, spacious hole. I start to wonder if it's going to go down for a while, and I panic before my feet touch the soft and cold dirt. Musty cold air wafts from the black space in front of me. Immediately, Brian drops down next to me, snatching up my paw again. He shines a light into the dark patch in front of me, and I see what looks like a narrow tunnel burrowing into the side of the incline we're on. What is that? Brian grunts and starts to pull me into the opening, and I pull back. Brian yanks me hard, and it feels like he almost dislocates my shoulder. I yelp loudly. Shut up! Brian hisses at me as he turns sideways to better fit into the tunnel. It's the mine, you idiot! What? I look back at the opening towards Echo, gently illuminated by the moonlight. I thought it was sealed. It is. This is the back entrance. Duke told me about it years ago. Said his family's known about it for decades. We push through for a while until we come to another tunnel, this one twice as wide as the one we were just in. It branches to the left and to the right. Brian stands there for a moment, inhaling deeply as he looks around. Hang on, it's been a while. I can't help myself from blurring out. You don't know where to go? I expect him to hit me or something, but he ignores me. Finally, he pulls me to the left. The idea of being trapped here with Brian, lost in the mines, is more terrifying than anything that's happened in the town so far. The air is so musty and dry I feel like coughing and sneezing at the same time, but I try to hold it in so I don't upset Brian. We walk for another 10 minutes or so, taking a few more turns. I try to memorize the route in case I'm able to break free, but after 5 or so branches, I realize I can't remember the second or third. Brian suddenly speaks up, making me jump in the darkness. After a while, I stop seeing aliens. His grip is tight, and I can feel that the circulation to my paw is cutting off. It's like it's just a mass of pins and needles at this point. Now, I see people. What kind of people? People you know? I try to keep Brian talking while I think. At some point, he's going to have to let go of me again, and it's then that I'm going to have to make a run for it, no matter what. Kudzu probably saw which direction we drove off in, and he probably went to Leo to get the car. But at this point, I doubt they're going to be able to find us, at least not in time. We went into the mountains, probably through some back road that none of us even knew existed. Then, Brian took me through hundreds of yards of desert to find a tiny opening behind some boulders. There's no way that they're going to find me here. I'm on my own. Well, I see just one person, but the person changes every now and then. Brian pauses, looking into a narrow opening in the tunnel wall, even more narrow than the first passage. Depending on who it is, depending on who it was, I last knew. Before I can figure out what he meant by that, I'm shoved hard, forced to enter the passage in front of Brian. It's just wide enough that I can walk straight, my shoulders nearly touching both sides. Brian, on the other hand, has to suck in and move sideways, grunting and cursing, making all kinds of noises. Brian's let go of me as he tries to pull himself through, though he keeps knocking into me to send me forward. I could try to escape, but I have a feeling that doesn't exit ahead of me. In fact, it feels like I'm being trapped. I can't explain it, but I start to get a terrible feeling that something awful is waiting for me at the end of this passage. And then I start to smell something. It's old and almost covered up by dust and mustiness, but it's definitely there. Sweat and sick, something rotting. It feels like ice water is pouring down my back, and I freeze, only to be given a shove by the bear behind me. I fall forward into a wider opening. The smell entombs me, and I know without looking that I'm surrounded by death. I lay there on the floor, not moving, listening to Brian as he tries to squeeze me through the opening. I can remember years ago when I was maybe 12, walking along the dirt road back home after hanging out with Carl. On the side of the road, I saw some roadkill, and just as I passed by, I could see the white maggots writhing through the fur. The smell for that single moment was almost unbearable, and I gagged and ran past. And while the odor in here is a bit more faint, it's almost exactly the same. I hear Brian shift free from the exit, and he shines a light back down at me. I know I should run. I know I need to get the fuck out of here. I know I should be fighting like hell. Because I know what's coming. Is this what it's like for people who get kidnapped or murdered? People wonder why they don't fight harder or run when they had the chance. I should have run the second we stopped in the truck. But right now, it's like I'm stuck in ice. My frantic thoughts are interrupted as Brian grasps me by the back of the shirt and pulls me back up to my feet. I'm not able to stand and just sort of crumble down next to him. The bear grunts and just drags me along into the little opening that we're in, dropping me against the wall. As Brian fumbles with the flashlight, I get a glimpse of my surroundings. It's small, maybe about 15 feet long and 10 feet wide. It's narrow enough that Brian takes up most of the space, and I'd be hard pressed to get past him. I draw my knees up to my chest and hug them, feeling numb. God, you're such a useless piece of shit. I watch Brian lean over something against the wall. It looks like 2 long, polished pieces of wood. Brian tips the flashlight down, and I see that those pieces of wood are attached to a shovel and a pickaxe. Brian grabs the pickaxe, and for a heart-stopping moment, I think he's going to turn to me. But instead, reaches into his pocket and pulls out something small and rectangular. It's not until he opens it and shines his flashlight in on it that I see it's some kind of small notebook. The bear looks at the notebook, then back up at the little cave we're in. The silence is almost unbearable, and I feel the need to say something, if only to fill the silence. What are you doing? You know exactly what he's doing. Brian ignores me as he continues to search for something. I whimper softly in the back of my throat. Please. About to be murdered, and you just beg like a little bitch. Shut up. I can't help it as I hiss through my teeth at the goddamn voice. I don't need to hear it, especially now. Brian stiffens and turns around. What? I shake my head, squinting and unable to see his face as the bear turns a light on me. Nothing, No, you were talking to something. Did you see someone? No, I don't know. I shut my eyes against the light and only see blood red. Brian chuckles and my vision goes back to black as he takes the light off me. I was the same way as you. Let me tell you something though. Ignoring it ain't gonna make it go away. Brian finally stops scanning the ground and crouches down. It takes me a moment to realize what he's looking at until he reaches down and picks it up. A smooth stone. Brian looks at it for a moment, thinking. Then he drops it off to the side and looks back down at his book. Daniel, 19. Ferret. He was the smallest, I think. Should be enough room. Brian shines the light back down at the ground for a moment, then seems to make up his mind as he sets the butt of the flashlight on the ground. It brightly lights up the ceiling, leaving us in a dim yellow glow. Brian eyes me for a moment, positioning himself so that he can watch me while also doing his work. Crouching over, Brian starts breaking through the hard surface of the dirt with the pickaxe, grunting with each stroke. He can only do short little swings, the ceiling too low for Brian to even stand up straight. At this point, the smell of Brian has almost overwhelmed the stench of death. I guess it's one of the few things I don't mind his smell covering up. Why aren't you at least trying to escape? Because he's in the way. Because you're such a coward. Why the fuck are you telling me now? I thought you left. I never left. You know that. You felt me even after you left the town. I shouldn't have come back. Probably not. I'm going insane. Brings back memories of my old life. I'm going insane and it's bringing back all of my old demons. No, I think it's because you're in the mine. I think you've figured out that that's the source of everything, haven't you? The voice I've been trying to ignore all week has changed. It's not vague or insidious anymore. It's more natural, like a real person. More like what I used to hear when I was a kid. Well, I was a real person. Sometimes I even doubt I am that person. It chuckles and I feel the back of my brain itch. More like what do you call it? A simulation? It waits for an answer, but I don't want to talk to it. Oh, stop pretending I'm not here. You can feel me. You felt me looking over your shoulder since you got here. I let my head thump against my knees, closing my eyes. Well, really ever since Sydney. I just ignore it. But I can't understand. Even I feel as though something is controlling me. It's the oddest thing. Hey! I snap my head up, looking up as I find the bear staring right at me. The hell are you mumbling? Nothing. Brian chuckles again and reaches across the other wall, grabbing the shovel. He starts digging up the loose patch of dirt in front of him. Yeah, keep it to yourself, I guess. But like I said, you ain't the only one. Brian gestures behind him with a thumb towards the ground. I look and see nothing except a few stones in the ground. After Rachel back there, things got way worse than aliens for me. I saw her at night crawling on my ceiling, peeking out from under my bed, staring at me from my window. Brian grunts as he digs the shovel deep, then lifts, turning the pile of dirt out to the side. So did Duke. Drove him crazy. Turned him into a speed addict. Not that I mind. He He was always my most reliable customer. The sick, sweet smell starts to grow again, and it starts to become overpowering. I feel like I should keep him talking, get him comfortable, and buy myself more time. Should you, though? Who's Rachel? Duke's wife. I try to remember what I know about Duke's marriage, aside from the fact that he isn't married anymore. I realize then that I do remember Rachel, but just barely. She was only around while I was in grade school and was pretty nice as far as I can remember. Didn't he divorce her? Brian shrugs as he stops digging, resting on the handle. I guess he sort of did, but I mean, she was dead by then. They wanted my stuff, but didn't have the money, so I cut him a deal to fuck her for drugs instead. I mean, I can't say I like bitches at all, annoying and whiny, but she let me go way further than Duke ever did, so I mainly fucked around with her. It's not hard for me to picture exactly what that fucking was. Then, one day, I guess I went too far. She died, and we buried her here. Brian points more specifically at a rock sitting against the other side of the wall. The bear starts to dig again, more vigorously, lengthening the patch he's working on. But I don't see her until right after I buried her. I didn't see her right after I buried her. Maybe a week later. The bear shakes his head, laughs mockingly. You'd think that stopped me from doing it again, but you know what? When that last breath came out of her, and she's just sort of shuddered on the table, Brian glances up at me. Blew my load without even touching it, made me wonder how good it would be to do it with a guy that good with a bitch. You want him to keep talking? Brian pauses in the sudden spurt of digging and looks up at me again. Probably wondering why I'm telling you this, thinking I'm crazy. But I don't know, feels good to tell someone. Like you're my own therapy, Otter. The bear looks back down at the hole he's made. The smell coming out of it so overpowering, I'm on the verge of gagging again. I don't see her anymore, though. It changes with each one. 7 stones. And it'll probably change again. And with that, the bear comes at me. The space is so small, it only takes him 2 steps. I scream and cover my face. Coward. And I try to fold up into as tight a ball as I can. But before I know it, Brian has the back of my shirt. He drags me over until I'm kneeling next to the hole. I can see it's definitely a grave now. You already knew it. Because I can see the bones poking through the dirt, the bits of blue and white cloth that were its clothing. You mean Daniel, the 19-year-old ferret. I feel like I'm telling all this to you, and me being nice to you so far. Maybe don't come back after me. Just move on. I feel Brian move around behind me, then press something cold into the back of my head. A gun. I guess Brian probably has plenty of those. I'm doing the town some good after all. How? I blurt out, my mind racing, trying to think of something, anything to get out of this. Brian does pause, though. How what? How is this helping anyone? Why are you doing this? A few seconds go by, and I'm sure I'm about to hear the crack of the pistol, the last thing I'll ever hear. Then Brian sighs. Again, I feel like I should tell you everything, so, you don't have to come back and fuck with me. But Duke, he said that this all started when you came back. I told you I have no idea why. My voice rises in a pitch as I start to panic. Duke had already tried to kill me even after we tried to convince him that I had nothing to do with any of this. Not any of this? Are you sure of that? I feel Brian set his foot behind me, and I can picture him getting ready to pull the trigger. I'm going to die. This keeps happening, doesn't it? This hysteria. I'm sorry, remember this is all for the good of the town. To me, it's like the town holds its breath, letting out all the evil built up until it has to let it all out in one big go. Brian grips into my head fur, pressing the barrel of the gun into the back of my head. And you brought a lot of guilt and evil with you back to this town. Maybe that was enough to push it over the edge again. Rest easy. So, in a way, it is your fault, isn't it? My eyes are watering, and I don't know if it's from Brian's grip in my fur, or if I'm crying. Help me, I say it to you. I glance to my right and see something standing in the entrance to our little hollow. It's faint, either because of the dim lighting, or because of the thing itself isn't quite opaque. It's tall, white, and gangly, and its long fingers nearly touch the ground. Its face is heart-shaped, the whiteness of it interrupted by massive, shiny black eyes in its face. It stands there motionless, watching us. I stare back, open-mouthed. Brian must have taken notice because the next thing I know, the bear squeals. It's so loud and high-pitched I wince. Brian lets go of me just as the thing moves. It seems to lean forward and glide towards us, but the gliding is stilted, like a film that's half seconds missing from it. It flickers, seeming to turn transparent as it grows closer. The white fading to pink, then to bright red for a brief second before reverting. I'm frozen, kneeling as I watch. Brian backs away and promptly steps on the flashlight. The light careens sideways, and I look over to see Brian's foot slip on the cylindrical flashlight before his rump comes down hard on top of it. All light is extinguished, and I can't see the thing or Brian now. I hear him, though, as he lets out another screech of pure fear, like a wounded animal. I hear something else, too. A voice that's also high-pitched, babbling something fast and senseless. It's like a tape recorder being rewound. Brian's screeching impossibly turns up a notch, and I instinctively move forward away from the horrible sounds, and I pitch forward into the hole. The smell engulfs me, and I can feel the hard, knobbly things in the dirt around me. Where am I going? Just taking a back road. But we're leaving the city. Yeah, well, I live outside the city. You didn't tell me that. Let's just go back to the club. Alright, pull the fuck over. Let me out. I said pull over. Where the fuck is the lock? You best not be doing that. Hey, get off of me. I gasp and scramble out the cave, gagging uncontrollably. Once I'm out, I curl up on my side, drawing in my knees again. The horrible screeching and bizarre babbling language continues, though the sound from Brian are more ragged now. Occasionally, the room flashes with light as Brian shifts around, but I face the wall, not wanting to look. Get up. I curl up tighter, just waiting, hoping that I wake up. You sniveling little shit, get up. I press my face into the dirt. Trust me, there's far worse out there, and it's coming for you unless you get up and get out. I've given up. My God, Chase, you useless piece of shit. You force yourself up onto your hands and knees and start crawling in the direction of the exit. The flashlight continues to be rolled around, giving you glimpses of where you're going. The sounds from Brian have stopped. Now, it's just a mechanical gibberish that seems to be growing in pitch and speed. But you don't look back. You don't need to see that. The otter is already broken enough. Soon, you're crawling through the exit, and the cacophony behind you is immediately muted. It becomes more and more faint until it almost disappears as you come out the other side. Once you're free, you stand up in the comparatively fresh and cool air. The main tunnel. You remember this place. You also know the tunnels like the back of your hand. It's pitch black, but if you feel along the walls, you should be able to find your way out. You head to the right, down towards the end of the main tunnel, with your right hand dragging along the wall. Then, when you feel an opening with your hand, you take the left, then another right, and finally, a final right that takes you out into the back of the exit. Nick had drilled the directions into your head far too many times for you to. Red eyes appear at the end of the tunnel, at the end of the last stretch. You freeze and observe. Things in the mines can hurt you far worse than things outside. Brian had just experienced that. But you're not sure. Is this one of the otter's demons? Or... No, it's something else. Something you're not quite seeing correctly. A friend. The lizard. He's warped. Chase! I slump to my knees, shaking uncontrollably as Flynn shines a light down on me. Fuck! Chase, come on, let's go! Flynn yanks me to my feet, and the next thing I know, I'm stumbling after him. Out of the mind, and out of what I'm now completely convinced is hell. I sit in the passenger seat of Flynn's truck, feeling numb. I choose to stare out the window, watching the desert rush by as Flynn tries to ask me questions. Where's the bear? I shake my head. Is he still in the mines? I think so. What happened? I don't know. It feels strange being back out here. While everything is definitely fucked up and strange out here in Echo, at least it makes some sense. The mine is completely different. It's chaos. That's the word. Chaos. What? How did you find me? I look back at Flynn and see that he's staring at me closely, barely keeping an eye on the road. I went to Leo's house, found all you guys there except you, of course. Just waiting? I don't know how to feel about the idea of all my friends just sitting around while a serial killer had kidnapped me. Of course, none of us really knew Brian was a serial killer. Well, at least what's going on. Kudzu, that raccoon, is the one that told me you were missing. Leo, on the other hand, said that you were fine. Like, he saw you around the house. What? Flynn shrugs. I have no fucking clue, but he was practically holding everyone hostage. Wouldn't give the keys up, so I had to take my own truck out here. Is everyone okay? Hopefully. Jenna said she'd try and keep him calm while I came and looked for you. How did you know I was in the mine? Well, Kudzu pointed out the direction you went. I drove up the canyon since that's basically the only place he can go. I saw where he parked and knew he'd taken you in there. But how did you know about the back entrance? Flynn smirks as he comes out of the curvy Echo Canyon onto the straight road to Echo. Does it really matter? Either way, I know a lot about that town. I watch Flynn for a while until he finally glances back at me. What? Where the hell have you been for the past few days? Oh, in the town hall, managing stuff. Stuff? Like, everything going on. I tried to find you guys at the hotel, at Carl's house, but I didn't see anyone. I assumed you all tried to leave. That answer is far more satisfactory, but I have no energy to dig deeper. So, are we going back? Yep. Then what? Well, they're all saying something about a train, so I assume we're gonna try to get out that way. Sounds like you already found out you can't drive out. Yeah. We turn onto the road to Leo's house, and as I watch the house draw closer, I can't help the growing sense of dread in the pit of my stomach. As soon as we step through the doorway, I'm engulfed by a combination of beige, gray, black, and white fur as I'm surrounded by my friends. Jenna, Carl, and Kudzu are all talking at once, asking me how I am, what happened if I'm okay. Flynn puts up his hands. Guys, let him breathe. I don't think he's up for talking too much. Jenna and Carl step back, but Kudzu doesn't. He's got a hand on my shoulder, gripping it like he doesn't think I'm real. Hey, I'm sorry. I should have been more careful. I should have let you piss on the fucking carpet instead or something. It takes me a second to realize what he's talking about. The thing that got me in Brian's trap in the first place. It makes me laugh a bit at how earnest Kudzu looks compared to what just came out of his mouth. I also realize that I want to hug him really, really badly, so I do. I feel the raccoon stiffen up for a moment, then hug back. It feels so fucking good to be in the arms of someone I trust, and it seems to break through the numbness that I'm feeling, at least a little bit. Carl seems to take that as an invitation to hug as well, and Jenna joins in. I don't mind, and I wish I could stay like this forever. Actually, I wish all this hadn't happened in the first place. It comes to an end eventually, and Kudzu is the last to draw back. I'm about to ask where TJ is when I see Leo. The wolf stands at the entrance of the hallway, his eyes on me and Kudzu. He's got a pillow in one hand, and his shirt is hitched up to over his stomach a bit, like he's just pulled it on. What are you doing? The room goes quiet, and the mood immediately changes. Carl and Jenna and Kudzu all look wearily. No one says anything. I clear my throat. I'm back. Brian took me to. Leo frowns. Back? No, you were in my room and asked for a pillow. We were... Leo glares. Leo's glare turns to Kudzu. Have you been telling him to say this? Leo, no. The look in my former boyfriend's eyes is completely alien to me. I've never seen that look from him before. I guess I knew that the town, or whatever all this is, had gotten to him, but not completely taken him. Now, I'm not so sure. Kudzu stands next to me, his shoulders in front of mine. Leo eyes him again before turning back to me. Chase, come here. I don't move. The room is completely silent. Chase, I said come here. Leo, what the hell? Leo ignores Flynn, his steely eyes on me. The feeling of coming to a safe place is completely gone now. Ego has seeped into every part of my life, it seems. But I don't move, and neither does Kudzu. Leo doesn't seem to know what to do now. His face transformed from anger to confusion. Jula, you were just in the bedroom with me, telling me... Leo trails off. I was in the mine, Leo, with Brian. Leo stares. The silence drags on until a soft clicking sound comes from the kitchen. Everyone looks at TJ emerging, staring at us with the sad, lost eyes. TJ, what is it? There's another train coming. Oh, good. Thank you for watching, TJ. I'm not sure if Jenna is relieved because our ride is coming, or if it's because it can distract from Leo. We all move at once, squeezing past Leo out the backyard. He watches me pass him, dumbfounded. TJ's right. In the distance, I can see the lights of the train, slowly winding its way towards us. At this point, dawn is just breaking. Somehow it's only been one night, even though it feels like it's been several weeks. Alright, for whatever reason, that train is moving pretty slow. We should be able to hop in. The train wails in the distance again, much closer now. I thought I was going to have to drive alongside it with all of you in the truck bed, honestly. The train does seems to be moving pretty slow, but as it gets closer, I realize that's not exactly going to be a jog to run alongside it. I might be able to catch it at full sprint. Alright, here's what we need to do. I'll get on first, along with Kudzu. Then we're going to pull the rest of you guys on, alright? Carl fidgets nervously. I don't know if I can run that fast. You will, now. I feel a paw land on my shoulder and turn me around. It's Leo. Hey, what is it? I look back at Flynn, wanting to hear what he's saying. Listen to me. Everything you said at the house. Did you mean it? Huh? What did I say? Leo looks impatient. What you said about loving me, wanting to be with me forever, you meant that, right? What? The train is approaching. We have maybe a minute. What the fuck? Why are you acting like you don't fucking remember? Leo bristles, teeth bared, eyes narrowing. Oh my god, Leo, let's get out of here first. I stare back away towards the others as they continue to discuss jumping on the train. No. Leo grabs my shoulder, looking at me right in the eye. He makes an effort to calm down, closing his eyes a moment before opening them again. Then tell me now, are you going to stay with me when this is all over? We can talk about this when we get on the train. No, I want to know before. I see Kudzu looking at us, and it looks like he's about to head over. Just tell the truth. That's all I want. I mean, it's pretty plain to say that it's over. I mean, you're kind of crazy. You're seeing and hearing things. And it's probably for the best that I say it's over after 3 years. But yeah, it's over. I'm sorry, Leo. Leo's eyes bore into mine as I look back at him. Now isn't the time for this. In fact, it's the absolute worst time for something like this. I look at it. I'm looking at him. I can tell that it's the only time for Leo. No, Leo. Leo's eyes widen and he leans his head back just slightly at the same time, taking a step back. It's like I'd physically pushed him. After everything that's happened, I just can't. Leo seems frozen, watching me, his arms hanging loosely to his sides. I hear the crunch of gravel next to me and Kudzu's by my side. Come on, we're going now. Leo's hands move then to his waistband. I have a moment to see him lift the gun from under his shirt, his eyes on Kudzu. My body moves automatically, stepping in front of the raccoon and raising my hands up to my chest defensively. Leo has already frozen his motion though, gun in front of his stomach, still pointed down at the ground as he stares past me. What the fuck? I feel Kudzu grab my arm from behind me. His grip's so tight that it's painful. But I keep my eyes on Leo, waiting and watching to see what direction the gun might go in. But then it drops. First his arm, which hangs loosely by his side once more, then the gun, which clatters to the gravel below. I flinch, expecting it to go off. It doesn't, and instead my ears are filled with the sound of the arriving train. Leo's eyes are back on mine, and I watch as tears start to spill out. Come on, Leo, we have to get out of here. Kudzu pulls me back, and I turn away from Leo and towards the town of Echo as I rejoin the rest of the group. Run! Flynn shoves Carl forward, and the ram takes off alongside the rails, looking over his shoulder at the train. The next thing I know, we're all running after Carl as the train catches up. I look back. Flynn waves both arms at the locomotion as it whizzes past, but if there's a reaction from the driver, I don't see it. I have just enough time to read the letters on the side of the train, Prescott Railway, before it's moving past me down the tracks. I realize then that the train is quite short, maybe only 5 cars in all. We won't have many chances. Kudzu! Flynn points at the caboose and starts running besides it, next to 2 little steps that drop down at the very end from a platform. Gracefully, the lizard jumps, landing his feet on the steps as his hands scramble for some kind of purchase. He finds it and pulls himself in, and the next second he's reaching out, holding on to the handle on the caboose as he grabs one of Kudzu's paws. With much more ease than Flynn had, Kudzu jumps on to the steps and pulls himself onto the platform. I pass Carl at this point, the ram already losing steam. He calls after me in a hoarse, ragged voice. Shit, I'm not gonna make... Flynn grabs the ram as they pass, and Carl skips on the uneven gravel, and for a horrifying moment, I think he's gonna fall. But Kudzu leans in and snatches him up as well, practically lifting Carl onto the platform. Jenna, who's right beside me, is next, reaching out a paw to Flynn. He grabs it, and Jenna easily jumps on over the 2 steps. I think it's my turn next, but TJ slows down abruptly and moves to the side to make room for him. Flynn grabs his arm, and TJ hesitates several times before Kudzu gets a grip on him as well, and he's able to step onto the first step. It's then that I realize that the train is picking up speed and I'm starting to slow down. I move up besides the caboose, seeing Flynn's outstretched hand. Now that I'm next to it, I can see how terrifying this is. The wheels clack loudly in my ear, and I have no idea how I'm going to lift one leg up while keeping up this speed. But I get a grasp on Flynn's hand, and I see Kudzu's paw reaching out as well. The train's going way too fast now, and I know I'll only have one chance at this. I pull down on their hands and lift my feet up to land on the last step. Once my feet make contact, relief floods through me. I can't help myself as I grin and pull myself up the steps. I don't know if they're safe or if this whole plan is going to work, but we're carried it out somehow, and that feels good for once. Then, I remember Leo and look back, expecting to see him running next to the train. Instead, all I see is the brush and gravel rushing past. I look back towards the train, and I think I can make out a small figure in the distance, exactly where I had left him. Where the hell is Leo? I stay silent, but Flynn follows my gaze out towards the desert. Shit! At that moment, I'm not sure what I should feel. Probably relief? But what I do feel is an incredible wave of sadness, like a physical wave smashing into my body. Probably the same thing Leo felt when I told him. Wait, did I skip something? Probably the same thing Leo felt when I told him. Some part of me knows that this shouldn't matter right now. All that matters is that we might have escaped with our lives, but leaving Leo behind. Someone I'd known most of my life. Someone who'd protected me, been a friend to me, guided me through the worst parts of my life. Someone who'd always emphasized togetherness and family, who'd always vowed to protect and stand by my side. That very same person had just chosen to stay behind. While we're the ones leaving, he's the one that decided to leave us. And as the solitary figure grows smaller and smaller, the idea hurts more than anything else right now. After seeing Janice get murdered, after being tortured by Brian, after nearly being murdered in a mine, this separation from my best friend is a knife being twisted into my chest. I sink to my knees holding onto the railing, wondering if maybe I should have stayed behind. Because the Leo that I just left isn't the Leo I really know. He needed help, and I just abandoned him. I should have stayed behind. Hot tears spill over my cheeks as I stare at the metal platform. Fuck you. We say the words under my breath, but there's more rage behind them than anything I've ever said in my life. And they're meant for echo. Fuck you for killing Janice. Fuck you for hurting William. Fuck you for killing Duke. Fuck you for hurting Clifford. Fuck you for what's buried in the mines. Fuck you for hurting Nikolai. Fuck you for twisting my friends into something they're not. Fuck you for hurting Cynthia. And fuck you for ruining my life. I sit there on my knees, sobbing hard, like I'm crying for two people at once. I can't see Leo anymore, but the thought of him alone and probably hurting like me is too much. I don't know how long I cry for, but it feels for a long time. After a while, I feel a paw on my shoulder. I imagine the rest of my friends standing there, staring at me, but when I turn my head is only Kudzu. The raccoon is crouched next to me, his head turned towards me, a look that I can only describe as understanding on his face. A bit of a daze, I rub my face on my shoulder to clear my vision. Sorry. Don't be. Kudzu says it automatically as he rubs my shoulder gently. Do you want to get up? The rest of them want inside. I stay crouched next there a moment, watching the blur of train tracks in front of me as we continue through the desert. Give me a second. My nose is all stuffy, so my voice comes out clogged. The tiny lights of echo on the endless expanse of the desert get smaller and smaller, and so, too, does the feeling of tension in my chest. And with the tension goes the sad, angry presence in my head. He goes quiet again. It makes me feel a little better, but each time I think about Leo, that knife gets a little deeper. Kudzu nods and squeezes my shoulder. After a few moments of silence, he speaks. You know that someone I lost a few years ago? I wipe my eyes again and nod. He was my boyfriend. I keep silent as I stare at the tracks, almost hypnotized. That strange feeling of wanting to jump tickles at the back of my brain, then fades slowly. One night, we were walking along like we usually did, and we got mugged. We should have just given him everything, but my boyfriend, of course, stepped forward and confronted the guy, and got shot. I glance back at the raccoon with no idea what to say. Kudzu shakes his head like he's coming out of a dream. I'm just saying that I'm here. I might know what this feels like, you know. I cough a little to clear my throat. I mean, he didn't die. Kudzu shrugs. Breaking up can feel like that sometimes. Don't I know it? It's a lot more than that. It was all of that. I wave in the direction of the town. It just feels like I lost him right when we got away. We're gonna get people to go back for him. Yeah. I let out a big breath before slowly standing up, my knees popping as I do. Kudzu stands with me as I lean against the railing, choosing not to look out into the town. After a moment, I turn around to face Kudzu, and then I'm hugging him. There's no hesitation this time as he hugs back. I let myself lean into him, letting him support me, feeling the fur on his neck poke through mine. We stay like that for a good 5 minutes, vibrating along the train. They're vibing to the train. Finally, I pull back. All right, we should probably go in. I don't think it's all that safe to be out here anyways. Without letting go of me, Kudzu opens the door and guides me inside. My friends are all sitting on little seats in the dark, swaying along with the train's movements. Carl sits close to us, and he looks up at the sound of the door. Hey, Chase, are you okay? I laugh. Nope. Carl smiles sadly. Yeah, sorry. You're fine, man. I see Jenna and TJ together on a seat further along the wall, and Flynn sits opposite them. Further still, a small shape sits leaning against the opposite end of the caboose, curled up on his seat. It's Clint. Flynn occasionally glances at him, but the polecat doesn't seem interested in coming closer to us. Kudzu guides me to sit next to Carl, and I make room so that the raccoon can sit next to me. So, where do you think we're going? I feel Carl twitching against me as he sits there hunched over. Anywhere's better, as long as it's not hell, I guess. Kudzu's arms go around my shoulders automatically, and we sit in silence for what feels like a long, long time. And I don't mind it. I wouldn't mind it if it were the rest of my life, honestly. And for the first time in several days, I feel calm and safe. Soon enough, though, the darkness of the caboose is illuminated with occasional flashes of light. Flynn looks out the window. Peyton. With a grating screech, the train starts slowing down. I'm a little surprised. I guess I thought the train wasn't even real, and it was just going to go on forever. But now, it comes to a slow, stuttering stop. We all sit in the dark, quiet, listening, and then Flynn stands up and opens the door. Soft orange lights spill inside. What the hell? Out of the doorway, I see the row of tracks occupied with other boxcars. Someone moves into view. It's an older-looking fox in overalls. He stares up at us like we're aliens. Where the hell did you come from? A moment of silence goes by before Flynn clears his throat. We're from Echo. Saturday. This is longer than I remember. Yeah, Mom, I promise I'll call you in an hour. No, I'm not. No, we're not staying the night. I promise. Wow, Mom. All right, I swear. I love you too. Bye. I hang up and drop my paw into my lap, sighing loudly. Kudzu laughs. Everything okay? I rub my eyes. Yeah, I guess. She's just worried, obviously. Kudzu reaches over and sets his paw on my knee, squeezing briefly before returning it to the steering wheel. I can still turn back, you know. I take in another breath and hold it in. It's tempting. It might even be a better idea to just let the past die. But now that I'm leaving the area for good, I want to see it one more time. The town and Leo. I let the breath out. Nah, I need to do this. I thought about it for so damn long that there's no way I'd forgive myself for backing out now. I need closure. Alright, but if he gets all weird at all, I'm taking you the hell out of there. He won't. He's back to normal. As much as any of us can be anyway. But I told him that it's only going to be for a little bit, that we're just driving through. I look over at him. You want to stay in the car? I was planning to, unless you're planning on going inside. No, I'll stay outside. Alright, but I'll be watching in case you two try anything. Yeah, right. It's been 2 years. That's not very long. Hey, I know Leo. He's not that person we, last saw. Yeah, I know. I feel my stomach tighten as I suddenly realize we're driving past the lake, then onto Main Street. It's completely abandoned, but then we pass the motel. The windows are all boarded up, and the parking lot is filled with more cracks than I remember. But I'm hit with a wave of familiarity all the same. Standing in the parking lot are two people. Pointing at the motel is a large black bear, and in front of him stands a canine of some kind with a video camera. Who could that be? Kudzu snorts but doesn't say anything. At first, I feel the spark of anger at them for probably seeing this whole thing as a morbid, fun adventure, not even having the slightest idea of what sort of hell the town went through. And then I remember that I'd done the same thing. Granted, it was many more years removed, but still the same. We turn onto Leo Street, and my stomach tightens further. Kudzu glances at me. Can I get a kiss before you talk to your ex? Eyes on the road. Kudzu leans over, very deliberately keeping his eyes on the road as he tries to turn his face towards me. I give him a quick peck on the side of the muzzle, and he laughs. I try to laugh as well, but it gets caught in my throat as I see the old house. And there, waiting in the driveway, is Leo. Hey, how's it going? Leo's cheerfully greets me as I open the door. It catches me off guard a little bit, his mood being so different from mine. Hey, Leo, what's up? Leo has his paws shoved in his pockets, but still manages to shrug. Not much. You? Not much. Leo ducks his head and looks at Kudzu. Hey, Kud, you alright? Kud awkwardly answers from behind me. Yeah, I'm okay. There's a moment of silence as I try to think of what to say or do. I hadn't expected Leo to just meet me outside. Did you want to come in for a beer or something? Oh, I'm actually driving for the next couple hours. Yeah, we were just stopping by for a minute. Ah, okay. Leo's smile falters a little bit, then he shrugs again. Want to go for a walk then? Stretch your legs? I look back at Kudzu, but he doesn't say anything, doesn't give me a hint as to what he's thinking. He's leaving the decision up to me. Yeah, sure. Leo ducks his head again. You want to come, Kud? Kudzu hesitates, then shakes his head. Nah, you two go ahead. I prefer the AC. All right, cool. Feeling a little tension between the two of them, I quickly jump out and shut my door. I look over at the rail yard, which is in full view of the car, and I point. Wanna walk over there? Sure. So, you've been hanging out here for the past 2 years? A little bit. Spent a lot of time at my parents'. I'm moving back with them right now, actually. Oh yeah? Yeah, it sucks. But honestly, I can't stand all the vultures scavenging around for stories here. Sounds like it. But at least you'll be around other people, right? Yeah, it's officially a ghost town now, if you haven't noticed. I look out over the rest of the town, towards the motel and convenience store, and all the tiny houses and trailers in between. Not a single person. I actually visited Carl once in a while over the summer. Leo nods up towards the mountains, and I see the big mansion glinting gently in the sunset. Hey, that's cool. I hear he's been doing pretty good at school right now. Good. Are you going back to school? I shrug my shoulders and walk up to the train tracks to straddle the steel rails. Not in Pueblo since we're moving up a couple states, but probably eventually. There's a lull in the conversation as we both go quiet. I look around wondering if this was a spot where we hopped the train. The train that turned out to be an old engine and caboose on its way to Payton, where it was then transferred to a train museum. It had been traveling at a gentle 10 miles per hour to keep from derailing off the old tracks, just slow enough for us to catch. It was the last of the 3 engines being transferred that night. Just a few hours later, the emergency services went in and recovered whoever was left in the town, including Leo. I still wonder if we even needed to hop the train, but I guess I was escaping more than just the town. I look back at Leo. Are you okay? Leo looks up from kicking around some rocks. I scratch my head vigorously, trying to think of how not to say the wrong thing. Have you been doing okay? Are you happy? Leo smiles. Not really. Are you? I think back to the past 2 years of nightmares and panic attacks of breaking down into tears out of nowhere. How just a few hours ago I dropped to the ground in a grocery store in Payton because someone dropped a jar of jam. but Kudzu had been there, like always, to help me back up. I'm managing. I can cope with this. I can't cope with this. It's a process. That's good. Are you managing? Leo chuckles. I'm just living. Are you getting help? Like professional help? Yeah. Nope. Oh, well, it can really help. I like to do things on my own these days. Leo looks back towards the car, Kudzu barely visible through the windows. People can help. You don't have to do everything on your own. I think it's best if I stay away from people for now. I notice the anchor bracelet is missing from Leo's wrist. I look down at the tracks. Listen, I'm sorry about everything that happened. I wish I could do things over even before what happened here in Echo. Leo looks at me for a moment, a sad smile on his face. The last 2 years have been hell for me. I cried myself to sleep every night thinking about you. I feel my face flush with embarrassment and, for the same reason, shame. But last month, for the first time, it stopped. I stopped thinking about you every hour. I stopped thinking about just what you might be doing, about how he might be treating you, about whether or not you're thinking of me. Yeah, I still think about you sometimes, and when I do, I still cry. But now, it hurts less. So yeah, I am doing better, Chase. Oh, well, that's good. I have no right to feel a little sad, but I do. I'm sorry, Chase, for not protecting you the way I should have, for trying to control you and do all that shady shit behind your back. Whatever the fuck was in this town that made us all go crazy, I realize it's twisted up my thinking. But those thoughts were always there. Echo just brought it up to the surface. So, I'm a shitty person, and you made me realize that, and I'm sorry I brought you into this. Just know that I really did love you. Leo looks over my shoulder at the car again. Anyway, you should get back to Cut. He'll take care of you, and I hope you'll take care of him, okay? My mouth hangs open a little bit, but then snaps me back to reality. Yeah, I'll do that. I start walking back to the car, but Leo doesn't follow. I pause. Do you want my new number? We can talk. No. The surprised look on my face makes Leo laugh. It's a real laugh, kind of sad, kind of happy, but real. That wouldn't be good for either of us. So, we're just saying goodbye forever? The old knife in my heart starts to twist again. Leo shrugs. You never know. I stand there 10 feet away from my first boyfriend, my first kiss in this very rail yard, my best friend. But hey, if you drive to Peyton again, I'm always open to have another chat. Maybe you'll just catch me in a better place. I will. I say it immediately and Leo smiles at me. So, I'll see you again someday. I look forward to it. All right, bye then. Goodbye, Chase. Chula. I walk to the rest of the distance to the car and open the passenger door before getting in and sitting down. With the door still open, I look back one last time. Leo stands there, paw still jammed in his pockets, his fur outlined with orange and gold light from the setting sun, highlighting his head fur like a halo. I take it in for a moment, then wave. He waves back. And with that, I close the door. The end. So that was the end of Leo's route. And, well, this is the end of Leo's good route. I could probably show what happens if you decide to not tell him that it's over, but you're gonna have to play the game. The same with Carl. So, yeah. Too bad. I mean, I really could just load it up right now and show you since it's kind of short. But I'm actually running out of time, and it's actually like 2 a.m. right now. This went on longer than I'd expected. And I'm actually surprised it's still recording, because it's only supposed to record like 2 hours, and I started at 9. Actually, no, did I start at... No, I started at 10, 11, I don't know, whatever. But anyways, thank you for watching, or listening, I guess I should say. And tomorrow, I will probably start off with with Route 65, I think it's called, which is a story which gives you backstory of when Chase was little and everybody else was also little, and It also gives you some backstory in between Leo and Chase's relationship and how it started. It also shows you some scenes that, you know, show some of the more paranormal stuff that happens in Echo. But yeah, I hope to do that tomorrow if I have enough time. But anyways, thank you for listening / watching, and if you liked it, then please leave a comment or like it or something, please. Just show me that you at least appreciate it, please. Please. Anyways, well, I guess ta-ta for now. I don't know how to end these things, really. Anyways, bye.